Welcome to the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hyde, joined by Chris Felice and Richie Kopech. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? Rich, we'll start with you. It's been a little bit. How's everything going?
Has been a little bit. Hello, everybody. I've just been doing my thing for a little bit, moving from one side of town to the other. So just a lot of stuff going on, and finally a little bit settled in here. So glad to be back. Welcome all. Yeah, ready to talk some football. Excited. It's been an up and down ride. I'll tell you, my teams are well, one side of it's doing good, and there's bad involved too. But we'll get into it. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing dandy. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm ready for more football. I can't believe it's already week 12. There's like 5 more weeks of fantasy football, and then we're done. Let that sink
Crunch
in.
time.
Yeah, this is it. We're nearing the end. The end is near. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited to see what we all got for some start and sit, and I'm ready for another fantastic week of fantasy football.
And just to be clear, we're not going anywhere. Just the fantasy season's going places. We're going to be here all year round to help you with your fantasy football. We're going to get into Dynasty, basically everything. Yeah. We're going to get
as long as we get past the season and no one kills each other because of what happens in the playoffs, we will be back. I make no guarantees. These guys here,
not all of us are going to be back.
These guys here, they might kill each other. I don't know. I've seen some threats being hashed out. I've seen it.
All I know is if I make the finals against you, Rich, and I get Jamar Chase again, things are going to happen.
I told you.
Someone's going to get injured.
There's like PTSD in here or something.
A little bit. I'm on my deathbed with COVID a couple years back, just watching not 1, not 2, but 3 Jamar Chase deep ball touchdowns just put me in the grave, and it was awful. So I
had a great time with it as well. I won a couple leagues.
That's what determined that's what made me decide to blow up my dynasty team, because I was like, I'm sick of this happening to me 2 years in a row. The year before was the Alvin Kamara Christmas, 6 touchdowns, took a giant dump in my stocking, and then Jamar Chase was the following year. So it's been fun. But I'm back 10-1 in our dynasty league, trying to keep that rolling, keep pushing to the end. This is where I got to finish, so we'll see. But starts and sits of the week. Let's dive into our starts, gentlemen. So this is going to be kind of difficult. Just a lay of the land for week 12. There are 6 teams on bye. It is a bye-pocalypse. The first of 2. Week 14 is another week that has a ton of relevant fantasy players who are no longer going to be available. So keep that in mind with some of these guys. But Chris, why don't you start us off? Who is your quarterback start of the week?
My quarterback start of the week is Tua Tagovailoa. Sorry if I totally butchered that last name. Going up against Yeah, I'm not going to try to do it. So I'll just take that. Thank you, Richie. Going up against the New England Patriots. I don't have to go through too much here. I know they got Christian Gonzalez. He is a beast at football. That's about it. There isn't too much else going on there. I anticipate Tyreek Hill to maybe not have the most efficient week this week, but I imagine with the efforts of Jalen Waddle, with the efforts of Jonnu Smith and whoever else is in the supporting cast there. I know I'm making the joke here, but Odell Beckham Jr. maybe? Odell Beckham, guys. But in all seriousness, I don't foresee any big issues coming in for a solid week from Tua. I'm not expecting a 35-point massacre, but somewhere in the range of 20-25 points is, I believe, acceptable.
And this week, I think you'll take that with the amount of quarterbacks that are on bye. So
absolutely,
it's brutal out there this week. That's for sure. So I want to help you out, and with that, I'm going to go with Bo Nix this week, going against the Raiders as my QB start of the week. And honestly, I mean, it's great. As someone who has him that took him in a dynasty rookie draft this year, I have been monitoring this man, and also we have a friend of ours that is a diehard Broncos fan. So Bo Nix has just been in our life, or at least in my life, as of him starting. So it's great to see him come to it. It's been a little bit of a slow start, but really since week 5, he's just been on a tear, giving you about roughly about 20 to 25 points on a weekly basis. 1 week he gave you about 16 points, but then there's 2 weeks in between there where he gave you above 30 points. So I look at that 16-point game as kind of a floor for him. I look at the 20 to 25 as kind of the more average of what you're going to get. And with that upside of really, he can hit you over 30 points, which that is a great quarterback to have on your team. He's been doing very well so far, and I think it continues this week as the Raiders don't really scare me. In fact, over the last 4 weeks, they are giving up the 4th most points to the position. So Nick should get it done this week again. And yeah, I'm firing up with confidence.
I asked on the Monday night show, I asked Joe and Chris here, Rich, but I want to ask you all so far at the beginning of the season, it was all talk about the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels winning Offensive Rookie of the Year because he had huge start to the year. As of late, it's been kind of Bo Nix taking over that. At the end of the year, do you think that it's a lock for Jaden Daniels? Sorry, I got Jalen Waddle on my mind. But do you think it's a lock for him, or do you think Bo Nix might actually sneak it out? Because I think it's up to those two. I don't think anyone else has done enough to really get the high praise of Offensive Rookie of the Year. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely close. I loved what Jaden has done and how he's played and all. But I mean, you got to give it to Bo. He's obviously the later drafted pick, not really expected to do what he's doing. So I think you got to definitely take that in consideration. So I mean, for me, I still think just because how it is, I think Jaden's still kind of, or they tip the hat to Jaden. But I mean, if Bo continues this way, I could definitely see him taking it out. Not a problem.
All right, yeah, that's good. We'll have to see and figure out which one's going to be because I think, like I said, I think it's going to be one of those two guys. So we'll have to wait and see who gets the nod. But I'm going to jump in here with my quarterback start of the week. It's going to be Jordan Love going against the San Francisco 49ers. Jordan Love and the Packers have been a little bit up and down so far this season. Dealt with some injuries and some game scripts that just haven't really been that conducive for explosive fantasy games that we saw last year with him. This is a game where I think the script is going to change into one of those. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. They're always Packers-Niners games are usually pretty entertaining. A lot of points scored on both sides of the ball. So Love right now is averaging about 1.6 fantasy points above expectation on a weekly basis. Not the best, but he's kind of doing what you drafted him to do. He's last week he was still able to put up a modest stat line against a really good pass defense. Against the Bears coming off the bye. They looked a little bit slow, a little bit sluggish, but they were still able to do enough, in my opinion. And I really expect them to build on that coming out of the second week out of the bye. I think they're going to really come through for fantasy managers, especially with 6 teams on bye. I think he could finish in the top 6 this week.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see it. I definitely like it. I agree the matchup will be definitely explosive considering how highly powerful those two offenses are, how just aggressive things can be. So I'm looking forward to the matchup personally. Moving on here, I'm gonna take us up to the running back start of the week here. Well, I got my guy Tyrone Tracy on the New York Giants. Coming off of the bye week, now I know we all have the lingering horrific thoughts. I believe we had 2 fumbles, one was recovered, I believe. So he had the 1 fumble, which was unfortunately in overtime, which is what lost him the game. We all remember that. No one's gonna pretend that didn't happen. With that being said, however, He still put up a fantastic week against Carolina. Now, of course, that is Carolina, right? Uh, not a great defense. Buccaneers don't have the greatest run defense, but I will wager you this: in the wake of Tommy Cutlets coming in, do we really think we're gonna go full pass game here? Do we really think what's gonna happen? I don't think so. I think this is gonna be an opportunity for Tyrone Tracy to really carve something out for himself here. Can he kind of have a stellar performance when I believe he's going to be the guy to look at for the game person? So that's what I'm going to go with. I got Tyrone Tracy coming out.
Yeah, just an update on the Giants and the NFL draft for next year. The current order, if the season ended today, would be Jacksonville at 1, Tennessee 2, the Browns 3rd, and the Giants are the 4th overall pick. So let's go Giants. Get that number 1. We'll trade it because the number 1 pick has not worked out for the past couple of years. So let's trade that pick, get a haul, rebuild. Rich, who you got at running back?
So my running back start of the week is going to be kind of like a tandem, really, because you can go both ways here, I feel. But I'm going to lean one way. It's Rachaad White and Bucky Irving playing against the Giants this week. Um, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards Bucky Irving just because of what I've seen. But overall, just before this bye week that they just had back in week 10, they played against the 49ers, and both backs were top 10 backs at the end of the week. Kind of a little bit of a tip or, a little bit of an ode to you there, sir, with the Tyrone Tracy pick going against. I'm sorry, never mind. I don't know what I was trying to connect there, but going back to my guys. Yeah, so really it's just that, with that tougher opponent, they still ended up being in this top 10 back. And I think this week playing against the Giants, I don't see how they can't do the same, especially after, recovering for a week. And yeah, it's just that with Bucky, I think that's what's going to be the recipe for them to succeed there. I mean, he's been playing lights out as far as just being useful for your fantasy team. I mean, weeks 6 through 10, the last 5 games he's played. I mean, he's had minimum 75 all-purpose yards in 4 out of 5, and he scored touchdowns in 3 out of 3 of them. So, I mean, I definitely think the team likes him. I think he's been more of the guy that they lean to in this type of gameplay where they're going to have the lead early. I think they just use him to move the chains often and to run the clock out. So I imagine he's going to score here as well. So confidently, I would say start him.
Yeah, I did see the Giants did open the 21-day practice window for Kayvon Thibodeau. So that would be the one thing. I think that would make it for. I mean, I doubt he plays. I don't know what the expectation is, but I would say that gives a slight nod to Rachaad White just because he might need to get it out a little bit quicker. But I mean, we've been talking about the Tampa Bay Bucs, the whole team. Their rest of season schedule is really, really good. So if your trade window is still open, go try to trade for one of them. If it's not, then hope you don't have to run into them in the playoffs.
I see what you did there. Run into them, running back. That was pretty good.
Not just a pretty face here. Not just a pretty face. Right. So I'm going to go with my running back start of the week. It's going to be James Conner on the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Seattle Seahawks. He's been a really solid RB2 in fantasy so far this year, averaging about 13.6 fantasy points per game. It's really clear to me that the Cardinals just want him to be this featured piece of the offense. He's performing above expectations among pretty much all the metrics we care about for fantasy, including rushing yards, receptions, and receiving yards as well. With the Seahawks up next, they're ranked 23rd against the run, and they allow about 19.7 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. So it's really just him. I mean, Trey Benson's starting to get a little bit more work, but I think Connor's workload is about as safe as it's going to get. And I think he's just primed for a really solid outing coming out of the bye.
No, I can see it. Yeah, I have no objections to that.
I really like James Conner's.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the rest of his schedule. I think as far as the Cardinals go, I think he's in a good spot. So
Yeah. With that being said, I'm going to move along to my wide receiver start of the week. I got Lad, the man, McConkey, coming in against the, as Sleeper is putting it, and I have to agree, a leaky Baltimore secondary. Like that word. It's a good word. I'm going to start using that more often. But yeah, I mean, there's no surprises here. Definitely like the pass defense game on that team is just not great in the Ravens camp right now. Definitely take advantage of it at the current moment, especially with Justin Herbert looking like, I don't know, like what am I supposed to compare him to? I like he looks incredible, you know.
looks great.
I watching him play, he looks really good. And I feel it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people like to compare when quarterbacks start doing good to like other quarterbacks that have been good, right? And I just don't see that. I don't see him like compare like I don't see a Peyton Manning. I don't see a Tom Brady. I don't see any of those guys. I just see someone who's good, right? Really, really good. And that's impressive considering kind of all the great talent we've seen so far. This guy comes in seeming to just be doing it better. I mean, we came in thinking that, hey, this pass attack is just not going to be a thing. Jim Harbaugh's coming in. We got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. It's only going to be the run game. And now we're kind of turning into the later half of the season. The Chargers are 7-3. They look really good. They just beat up on the Cincinnati Bengals in a very, very tough game. Kind of keeping everything with it. Like it looks really, really impressive. And once again, they're going into another game where there's a high octane offense on the Ravens. There should be no reason why they don't sling the ball. I actually extend this to Quentin Johnston as well. If you have him, start him in your flex. This is a very easy start, in my opinion. I would even go as far to say as wide receiver two for either Lad McConkey or Quentin Johnston. And I will say this. I will do it. I will give the touchdown guarantee to my man, Lad McConkey. I rest my case.
No, I love it. I love it. The Chargers have looked so good as of late, and one of our buddies the other day mentioned that they are the dark horse team to win it all. And I mean, I keep doing the side eye to them, man. I mean, they're slowly but surely kind of creeping their way in there. I mean, they're looking good. But moving on, my wide receiver start of the week. I'm going with JSN, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, against the Cardinals this week. And really, it's great to see. I mean, I'll tell you, I love this kid. Might just be because I acquired him in a trade earlier in the season when it wasn't looking so good yet. But I mean, it's been an interesting ride for him. I mean, we expected more this year, yes, but it seemed like it wasn't coming to. Kind of going to the Metcalf injury. I think that kind of projected him a little forward, added a little bit more to his normal workload, and I think with that he handled it well. Him and Geno seem to be kind of melding a little bit more, and I love it. I think from what I saw, he received a healthy share of work there. So with Metcalf coming back last week, I was kind of curious as to how that was going to play out, and still had 11 targets. He ended the day over 100 receiving yards, and so I think that what we're seeing here is really just Jason supplanting himself as that wide receiver two over Tyler Lockett now, as we see Tyler Lockett kind of ride off into the sunset. And with that, it's great. I love that. I think that it's great to see somebody kind of pass the torch off and ride with it really well. And I think this week is just going to be more of that, as the Cardinals typically um, are good to Geno. I mean, he has had multiple games of multiple passing touchdowns against the Cardinals. So why not? JSN's looking good. I think that the team's going to rock with DK back a little bit more into it. And with that, yeah, I'm gonna lead it off to Matt. Your guy is.
My guy, that's a perfect segue because my guy is actually DK Metcalf going against the same people. Just as far as the target share, I want to kind of point that out really quick. Tyler Lockett last week, he had a 6% target share on this offense compared to Jaxon Smith-Njigba's 22 and DK Metcalf is 17. So I agree. That's part of the reason why I'm bringing up DK Metcalf. So let me get into that, and then we can talk about it a little bit and see if Chris agrees or not. It's been a pretty iffy season for DK so far. At least it kind of feels that way. If you drafted him like I did, you've been a little bit disappointed throughout the season so far. Coming last week, he came back after his missing a couple weeks with the knee injury, and he put up 7 receptions, 70 yards, and 9 targets. That's not amazing, but it's not bad. I mean, especially coming out the first game back, you're kind of always looking. How did he look? Did he look like he was lingering a little bit or holding his knee at all? He looked perfectly fine, so I think that was just, they didn't need to ride him as heavy as they typically did in the past. So this offense going against the Cardinals, who could put up points, they're going to have to put up points to stay in this game. DK is going to be very involved, along with JSN, like Rich said. Tyler Lockett, lowest snap percentage, really low participation in the offense. They were really looking for JSN and DK. That was kind of it. They hyper-targeted them and kind of left him out again. With DK Metcalf, he's always a big threat in the red zone because he's a really big-bodied wide receiver, great hands. He's also always good at has a good odds at getting one of these big plays, and I think this is going to be the difference on this week. Is he's going to be the guy that gets the big plays, and I think him and Geno this week are going to connect for one of those deep touchdowns. It's been kind of coming as of late. It just hasn't. They haven't connected, or they've been called back on random penalties or whatnot. So I think this is the week. Everything's going to line up. I already looked at the stars. They're all lining up. DK Metcalf, deep touchdown this week.
Okay. That's bold. I like it, though. I think against this Cardinals defense, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, overall, really, it's just fire up. Your players in this game. I think this is a good game that we're going to see here. A lot of points hitting the over. So Cardinals and Seahawks alike, I'm fine with anyone from this game.
I will say, right, if we're on the topic of the Seahawks, before I jump into my tight end start of the week here, I've had a little look at the Jonnu Smith contract. I believe, if I'm not reading it incorrectly, that the Seahawks can opt out of the contract after this year. I could be wrong if I'm not reading it incorrectly, but I believe that's how it works. I'm not a contract guy.
I'm on it.
Do it.
Okay. Matt's gonna look at it for me. He would know it better than I would. So yeah, thank you, Matt. But moving on from there, even if that's not the case, I know it only goes until 2025. I see this as a full moment here where if you have JSN, lucky you. That is probably the future wide receiver of this team. DK Metcalf is most likely not going to be the guy. I foresee him. I don't know DK Metcalf's contract, where that stands. I don't know where that ends. I don't know how much longer. If it ends soon, within next year or two, possible trade target here for the Seahawks. But I anticipate a semi-rebuild where they will probably get. I don't know if they'll draft a quarterback or sign a different one, a better one maybe. There are a couple that are going to be out there. I mean, they love getting these guys that have comeback seasons. So Sam Darnold is on the docket for the Seahawks if they want him. But yeah, so if you are looking to throw some darts right now, throw a dart at DK Metcalf. He might be on a different team, wide receiver number 1 somewhere else. And if you're really looking for the future, and if you're looking at someone who's maybe not appreciating JSN like they should be, snipe him. I guarantee you will thank me later.
Got the contract for DK and Geno. Geno Smith has a $13.5 million dead cap hit next year. And then he's an unrestricted free agent in 2026 for DK Metcalf. Next year is a contract year for him, age 28 season. So next year is they're going to be looking. He's going to be playing to get another contract, and I think he's going to stick with the Seahawks. I don't see them moving on from him.
I'm just saying,
but yeah,
possibility is there. I'm just saying. on my valid point here is JSN is definitely the future of that team there. So if you have him, hold on to him. If you don't have him, try to see if you can pick him up for not a bajillion picks or something like that, because he's you don't want to overpay for this.
Good luck.
But,
I have him, and you got to pry him out of my cold dead fingers. So,
uh,
who's your tight end start of the week, Chris?
Hey.
So now we got violent there for a moment. My tight end start of the week is Jonnu Smith going up against once again the New England Patriots. I seem to be a Dolphin here. I'm going to do my best Dolphin impression. We're going to clip this, or it's going to be a short. Ready? Yeah, okay. So I'm sorry all of you had to hear that. I am sorry. I am so sorry. But it will be really funny when you do. Moving on to Jonnu Smith. Yeah, he had obviously a fantastic week last week. Had a great time. 2 touchdowns, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 101 yards. I mean, it's just all around fantastic. I don't anticipate that happening again, but I am looking at the stat line for the past 5 weeks, and he only didn't. It's 7 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, and then 8 targets. The numbers are good. And I mean, if it seems that he's going to be utilized in the offense, why not take the chance? I mean, we keep talking about Hunter Henry being a good guy because he gets the targets and he's going to constantly kind of be there, right? He also constantly gets the targets. And if you kind of roll the boom or bust factor on just getting the touchdown, but the bust is just kind of rolling with the regular tight end numbers of the 6-point, 5-point category, I don't see that at all. I don't see a problem at all about that. So yeah, Jonnu Smith, go ahead and start him. I think I'm not going to give him the touchdown guarantee, but if he does, it'll be funny.
Jonnu Smith, the guy you sniped for me. Love it.
Lucky number 13. 13 Buckaroos on our Dynasty waiver wire.
I am not sorry. Let it be known I am not.
Well, fine. Be that way. So my guy this week that I'm going with, that would be Hunter Henry, who Chris just mentioned, just shellacked on his way across while talking about his guy. But yeah, no, mine's Hunter Henry against Miami this week. And I really do believe that Hunter Henry, honestly, is Drake May's favorite target on this offense. They've seemed to have this kind of connection, which I feel like is just a thing. I mean, I don't know if it's really just him, because I feel like Mac Jones also was hyper targeting Hunter Henry, which it just seems to be a Hunter Henry thing. So carrying that on, I mean, over these past few weeks, he's been pretty serviceable. Nothing really that's going to, break the bank. But honestly, I mean, he's been getting about, 5, 6 to 9 targets. Last week ended as the tight end 9. So why not fire him up against Miami this week, as Miami's over the last 4 weeks is giving up the 5th most points to the tight end position. So, roll the dice with somebody like that, and I think it could work out this week. It's a divisional opponent, so there's going to be probably some hard-earned points there, and I think Drake looks for Hunter early and often.
For those of you that listened to the Monday Night Waiver Show that dropped yesterday on Tuesday, or 2 days ago when you're listening to this episode, I said, let's make this the last time I got to mention Hunter Henry on the Waiver Show. Just add him and play him. He's been amazing. He's been the stopgap. If you're dying for a tight end that does something, that is Hunter Henry. Please, just pick him up. I don't want to mention
it right now. I'm looking up right now. I want to see.
I will say though, while you're doing whatever you're doing, that your tight end start of the week is the one I wanted. I literally came to this list and I was like, darn it. So
that's funny.
Snipe twice tonight, I guess. Then
that's crazy. I'm so sorry. The percentage has not been adjusted yet. So, we'll have to wait, and we'll have to wait till waiver show to figure out if you guys listen to us.
Yeah, we'll check that. Maybe tomorrow it'll go through. We'll see that, because it was 45%.
It was 45.
It should be a lot higher, especially this week. My tight end start of the week is going to be Will Dissly going up against the Baltimore Ravens. We like this matchup. for a couple times. This one's super fun because Disley is just one of those guys that could be a 1 week wonder that wins you the week, especially on a week with a ton of buys. You're scrounging the waiver wire for someone. Do I start this person? The offense is going to have to move the ball, plain and simple. They're not going to be able to do the ground and pound game that they want to do. It's not going to keep them close. The Ravens are just too good on offense. They can put up points in a matter of seconds. This is the Harbaugh Bowl. I expect Justin Herbert to be let loose, and Disley has been a very, very solid target for him, especially the past couple weeks. Disley could be that tight end replacement this week, and it's really going to help you in fantasy. I know I mentioned Tucker Kraft last week, so I apologize for those that took my advice. I took my own advice, and it burned me, but I don't think this is going to be the time. He's too involved in this offense, and as Chris alluded to, this is a leaky Baltimore Ravens secondary. So I think this is going to be a time where Disley is going to get loose, show some numbers, and going to be a red zone threat. So start him with confidence.
I like that.
I agree. I also like that. I like that a lot.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, what do we say we get into some sits of the week, yeah?
Yeah, let's get sad. All right, Chris, start us off.
So I apologize. I know I just said that. I just ran the thing, but now that it's even more funny. I mentioned the 2 Dolphins and I made a dolphin noise. I noticed you mentioned 2 Seahawks and did not make a Seahawk noise. Can I get a Seahawk noise to kind of enter us into this sit of the week?
Sure. Go to Google, type in Seahawk noise, and listen to it. Right. That's how you're gonna hear the Seahawk noise.
All right. My sit of the week is Sam Darnold. Let me kind of go through my emotions here. For sitting Sam Darnold. Last week, he did fine. I shouldn't say fine. He did pretty good against the Tennessee Titans. He had a good week. Definitely a needed bounce back week when you give up 3 interceptions to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That wasn't great. The week before, he gave up 2 interceptions to the Colts. Then he beat up on a relatively, not great defense against Tennessee. So finally finding form. However, Chicago is a fantastic defense. They're one of the best, if not the best, against quarterbacks. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong or not, but I know they're top 5 last time I checked. They are very, very good. I anticipate this to be not so explosive for him. Justin Jefferson will probably do fine, but at the end of the day, I predict a couple interceptions from Sam Darnold. Personally, I don't. It'll be rough, I think, for him going into it. I know rivalry game. I know things are gonna be the crowds of me against the Bears. Sorry, I'm like blanking right. The Vikings. I mean, sorry, I had like a whole brain fart there for a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, they're also at Chicago. That doesn't help at all in the slightest with any of this. So yeah, I would avoid starting Sam Darnold, which I know is really tough to say because we've been seeing his praises for a bit. But just trust me, I think there are a lot better options, even in like the waivers, even might be like still there right now that will be more optimal for you to start rather than Sam Darnold.
I can confirm the Bears are the best against opposing quarterbacks, allowing 11.4 fantasy points per game. So, again, not great, Bob.
Yeah.
Not great. Carrying on, I'll say mine. That would be to sit Michael Pittman this week. And probably for the rest of the season, honestly. I mean, it's just not working out. The Anthony Richardson-Michael Pittman connection is just not a thing. The chemistry is not what we thought it was going to be. I don't know what's going on there, but in the 6 games that Richardson has played with Michael Pittman, all 6 of them have ended with Michael Pittman having less than 10 fantasy points per game, or at the end, as a finish. So it's not there. He's finding Josh Downs and Alec Pierce more often and more of a connection with them. So I don't like it. Even though Detroit's, a team that, they're giving up a lot of points to fans to wide receivers. I just think, you're not going to find it with Pittman. Look elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about they just like extended Pittman for I believe 4 years, if I remember correctly. So like that's crazy to me that this isn't working out. It's also crazy, like I believe if I remember correctly, Josh Downs had actually a good week last week. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Like
Yeah.
somehow that connection is the one blossoming rather than Michael Pittman.
Right.
I don't know what happened. Someone want to say something?
No, I'm saying right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Downs and him I mean, Josh Downs is fine. I would definitely much rather have Josh Downs.
What a sentence to say. What a sentence to
Right?
say. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I'm worried for the future of it. I don't know if maybe Michael Pittman is just not as good as we thought. Not as good as we thought he was, or maybe that connection is just not possible. Different play styles. I don't know. But yeah, I completely agree. Definitely sit him now, and for the rest of time, it's just not worth it, which sucks because I drafted him in a lot of leagues. In a lot of leagues. So, yeah, that feels really bad.
I'm going to make you both feel really sad right now, okay?
Yeah.
Who has more fantasy points on the season? Michael Pittman Jr. or Jalen Tolbert?
Oh no.
Oh
no.
Does it?
I mean, I know the answer because of who. I know the answer. It's obviously Jalen Tolbert.
You're correct. Who has more fantasy points? Michael Pittman Jr. or Alan Lazard, who hasn't played in 3 weeks?
Dude, my boy Alan Lazard. Okay, I put him on the trade block. I know what he's worth. Don't lowball me. I know what I.
Yeah.
What about Odell Beckham Jr.? How close are they in points?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't think I can go that far
No.
for Odell Beckham.
I can absolutely go that far. Okay, no, actually not nearly enough. He has, so what is that?
Tune in next time.
7.
OBJ
He
has
7
8
fantasy
points. Yeah, it's bad. Speaking of bad, let's get into my sit of the week. It's going to be J.K. Dobbins going against the Baltimore Ravens. This
Joe
is
would
going
be
to
livid.
I know he would, and it's okay because I'm trying to help him out in Dynasty this week because he has him. Don't play him. Please don't. Just don't. Okay? You can't run on the Ravens. You can't. No matter how hard you try, you cannot do it. On the season, they're 7th among running backs, but that is low. He scored 2 touchdowns last week, but I'm not gambling with that. You're betting on a touchdown with him to save his day. Over the last 5 weeks, he has 2 games with a run over 20 yards. He is a touchdown or bust running back only. He also, over the past 5 weeks, has 2 games in the top 12. 3 in the top 15, 2 outside the top 25. You're hoping he gets loose for a touchdown, but he's also been losing work to Hassan Haskins. Gus Edwards is back and healthy. I'm not banking on him getting it done this week. I understand if you need to play him because of bye weeks, but you really got to lower your expectations. Looking at the stats on the Ravens defense going against running backs on the season, running backs are averaging about 18.7 rushing yards. That's per game to opposing running backs. That's how good this defense is against the running back. You can throw on them, but you cannot run on them.
It's so funny. I just love the way you said that. Oh no, I completely agree. Yeah. Well, listen. You can beat him in one type of the game, but definitely not in both types of the game. How dare you, sir?
The last time someone rushed for 40 or more rushing yards was when they played on October 21st. That's a month ago.
So what you're saying is they're only leaky in the passing defense.
Yes, sir. Their defensive line is stopping the run. Their secondary is like Swiss cheese. that's been left out in the sun for a while.
Even more reason to start Lab McConkey and Quentin Johnson. It only proves my point.
And Will Disley.
And Quentin Johnson. I'm saying all three are going to do good. I know he's an add-in. I gave him an extra start this week.
Pew pew.
All right. So those are your starts and sits for Week 12. As always, thank you for listening to the show and watching on YouTube. You can follow us along on X at the Heroes FF. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, basically everywhere you get your podcasts. Do us a huge favor. If you could, on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review and put a question with your review, and we'll read it on on one of the upcoming shows. We want to talk about Dynasty, redraft, basically everything. We're here well-versed in all of it, so we want to kind of bring the knowledge out to everyone. So, again, we really appreciate it. Wouldn't be here without all of you. So, that's going to do it. Gentlemen, good luck on your Week 12. To you, the listener, hopefully you have plenty of touchdowns this pre-Thanksgiving week.
Unless you're playing against me, in that case, lose.
It's all right. I'm not playing against you, so I can win then. All right.
Aggressive.
We're out. See you later. Good luck. Have
You're
fun. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.